Finally, it's All Things Property Explained, joined by Tim Akinusi. And of course, this week on Property Explained, we'll be talking buying a home. Of course, can be that exciting and maybe emotional experience, but it's important to pay attention to certain red flags to ensure that you're not being taken advantage of in the process. So, Tim, I know that this one is going to be our final ride for the year. But welcome and good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Kutso and Mo. Where's Owen? Oh, Owen is not. Owen is
probably doing push-ups somewhere. I mean, as a potential home buyer, should I be skeptical about everything concerning the process? Should I say, oh gosh, already I know I'm going to get scammed, I'm going to get ripped off, I'm going to buy a house that doesn't even look like a house that can last another year? Yeah.
So, Mo, you should be skeptical. It's a big purchase, right? And we're also in that season, now where everyone is posing as, being authentic about what they're trying to do. And so you really should just approach it with the sense of like, if there isn't a lot of transparency that you're seeing, if there isn't a lot of disclosure that's coming from the sellers or the estate agents, right? You should start to think to yourself, maybe I need to start asking a lot of questions, right? And so your question should be typically centered around two aspects of your property. The first one, it's its utility value. And then the second one should be on its asset value. So its utility value is everything to do with how you're going to live comfortably in that house. You see, you should cluster your mindset around that. The things that are going to affect your living conditions. And then the second part is the things that are going to affect your resale value of the house, right? So if you typically stick around those two value drivers, you will start to pick up where the red flag should be coming from, right? And then the second thing about that is that it will start to guide you as to the type of questions that you need to start asking. And typically a lot of, aspiring property owners and first-time home buyers, we kind of don't like asking questions because we kind of feel like asking questions maybe bursts the bubble or spoils the dream that you want to keep intact.
Yeah, or makes you feel dumb.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
And then you start to have these reservations about maybe I shouldn't, rock the boat here. You should rock the boat. That's the time to start asking a lot of questions, but center it around those two aspects of the value drivers of the property.
Thank you for that, Tim. I know that we were just discussing hood science on the show, right? And maybe a red flag is when you purchase as a first-time home buyer a home with ties on the roof. What are the main red flags that we need to note when purchasing our home for the first time?
Okay, so that's a really good one, right? Because the first red flag is this. You should ask the question of seeing a property valuation report, because that home will have a valuation report that will have data containing the current owners, what they purchased the property for, and what all other properties around the area of similar size have been sold for, right? So now that has to match the sale agreement, the OTP, right? So if the names are not matching up, right, already that's a red flag, right? If the value of the property on the valuation report is significantly higher than everything else around it, there has to be a reason. Okay. Is there, are there gold tiles? Are there, is there golden door? That is, some jacuzzi that is special that causes that price to be out of the ordinary. You should start asking questions, right? The second part about that is now moving to things such as like your compliance certificates for your electricity, your water, all of those things. And typically the attorneys will assist you with that because it's part of the transfer process, right? But the other one is around if you're buying in a complex, you should be asking about the complex financials. You should be asking, is this complex solvent, right? Are there enough homeowners that are paying their levies to be able to make the expenses to upkeep that entire place? Because if you don't ask that, now that affects your resale value of the place because the banks will not lend to your future, the future owner who wants to buy your place. Right. Because they feel, well, this place is not solvent, it's not been well maintained, and therefore the asset is not worth, its value. So then the other one, last one, is the damper issues. You have a right to ask, does this house have any damper issues? Okay. Right? Because you want to test the level of waterproofing. Right? It's raining right now, right? So a lot of people can't hide that because the rain will ultimately,
come through.
But in winter, it doesn't rain a lot. So people could quickly patch up things and sell them as is. So ask those questions, because if they are not honest about that, then you have some recourse against them to say, look, you've not been fully honest about the state of this property,
Sure.
and therefore the price that you're paying for it should not be that price.
Wow.
Right. So that's another red flag.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned all those red flags, and I think some of these are actual deal breakers in terms of your process of buying property. Speaking of the process, Tim, ultimately, you would want someone, I believe, to hold your hand at some level or the other.
Sure.
So what is your advice on that in terms of going through the process of buying a home?
Right. So our advice is this, naturally, I would say, come talk to us.
Please
We
do.
will share all those red flags with you.
Yeah.
But in terms of those deal breakers, right, specifically, right, if you feel that you're buying in a complex and the body corporate is not solvent, do not buy in that place.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Google is also your friend in this case, right? You need to, do a quick Google search, understand what the reviews, see what has come up on a search, because typically you'll find a lot of things that talk to how other people have experienced a place, or experienced that developer, or experienced that complex on its own. You'll get that information there, right? And then, of course, the obvious one is just don't buy a place where there's complications around its rates and taxes, because that's a non-negotiable tax to the government, or its electricity is not being sorted out, or you can't get a compliance certificate around the waterproofing, etc. All of those things are deal breakers, right?
Yeah.
But the last thing I will say is, for first-time home buyers, look, prevention is better than cure. Right, better not to be looking for red flags when you can prevent it altogether. So to minimize your risk, buy a brand new development, buy a brand new house, because typically there would be a process of snagging that allows you to look after all of those things that you're unhappy about at no cost to you, right? When you want to buy your second place, then you can do the auction thing, and then you can do the second, the second house thing, because at that stage, you've had more experience and haven't lived in your own place before. Yeah,
definitely. And the home you're living in is a brand new spanking new, out of the box, etc.
100%.
Tim, thank you for being with us in 2022. You are the GOAT of property on this show. So
I'm so humbled. I'm not the GOAT.
Really. And I love what Mo is saying, because even the listeners, I'll mention one who literally sits down and takes note of everything that you mention. Her name is Gitu Metsi. She loves this segment. She waits for you to be here. When you're not here, it's a problem. So thank you very much, Tim. Truly appreciate you this year.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. You've been really wonderful, and your listeners have been incredible. We have had a lot of questions come through for them. We know buying property is a big deal. We take it very seriously. We don't want it to ever be a nightmare for you. So please come chat to us. We'll be glad to assist you through your journey.
Done deal. Tim Akinusi, have a fabulous festive season, and we'll check you out in the new year with Property Explained.
Thank you.
Done deal.